think a lot of you out there watching have probably already decided that you want to move to Florida, but you're not necessarily sure where in Florida you want to move to yet. But I did make a recent video about the 10 best places to live in Florida, which you can check out right here if you didn't see that yet. But today I'm going to talk about how to decide where is the best area in Florida to live in based on kind of like what you like to do for fun and things like that, or your personality. And I'm not going to get too specific about where to live. I'm going to base it more on you as a person and why you're moving here, because I see some people asking me in the comments like, where should I live if I like to build cars, or where should I live if I like to go fishing, or things like that. So that's the kind of thing I'm going to cover in today's video. So the first thing is, you are young and you are in school. Like maybe you're coming to Florida to go to college here, something like that. You probably want to go to one of the major college towns like Gainesville. That's where they have the big major Florida University up there. Or maybe you want to go to the University of Miami, which is down this way by me. I wouldn't necessarily base it on the area of Florida. I would more base it on like what kind of degree you're going after and which school in Florida offers that. I know there's probably a lot more colleges here than just those two. Those are the two I can think of off the top of my head. And I didn't go to college. I can't offer you much advice in that department, but that's where I would start with it. The party people. I know a lot of people move here just to be in the party scene here in Florida, because we have pretty epic party scenes here. I would say for the party scene, you obviously got South Beach down by me. You know, here in Miami, we got a bunch of different clubs and bars, things like that are open till 5, 6 in the morning. Also in downtown Miami and Brickell, they have clubs that are even open 24 hours a day. I would also say Key West. Key West is a very big party town. It seems like there's always something going on there. You know, if you're into the party scene, both of these areas I think would probably be really good for you. Next thing, fishing and boating. Now the reality is you could probably go fishing and boating anywhere here in Florida, but I think it really depends on what kind of fishing and boating you want to do. And the example that I'm thinking of is a friend of mine. His name is Ryan. So if you're out there watching this, Ryan, thanks for taking me fishing those couple times. We went fishing down in the Everglades by Key Largo, and it was really fun. I mean, we went out on the little boat that he had, and we went into the mangrove swamps. There was like no one around us, and we were catching snook, we were catching snapper, we were catching redfish, and these are like some of the best and most delicious fish to eat out of the ocean here. So if you like that kind of fishing, then you probably want to be somewhere near the Everglades, I would say. But other people are into like deep sea fishing and catching marlins and sharks and all kinds of crazy creatures. So if that's you, then you could probably live anywhere in Florida because the entire state is surrounded by the ocean. So I think that would be fine too. And when it comes to boating, if you're rich enough to have a boat here and be able to maintain one, then I think that's pretty cool. So you'll be able to do just fine pretty much wherever you pick in Florida as far as that goes. But if you're not as fortunate and you don't have a boat and you really want to fish all the time, then I would highly suggest and make sure that the town you're going to move to in Florida has a fishing pier somewhere on the ocean. So that way you can still go and get in your fishing without having to worry about going out on a boat and spending all that money. So that's my tip for you fishing people. This next one is me. For the beach people. Now it's kind of obvious. I'm gonna say, you know, you're gonna want to move somewhere where there's a beach, right? But not all beaches are created equal. Let me tell you that. I've been to a lot of the beaches here in Florida, and some of them I like a lot more than others. So I'll give you a couple examples. Obviously, I live here in Miami Beach, and the beaches here are probably some of the best in the state, if not in the world. So this is a great place for the beach, I'm not gonna lie. But I'll give you another example of where's not a great place for the beach. Key West. If you like the beach, don't move to Key West, because in Key West, the beach there has a lot of broken up shells and it's very rough, and the beach is also like very shallow. The water, when you get in the water there, you walk out and you have to walk forever, and the water's maybe only up to your knees. And underneath the surface, when you're actually walking on the bottom there, it's very rough. There's like lots of rocks, lots of coral. It's not a good place to go to the beach, okay? I've been there. The west coast of Florida does have beautiful beaches too. They have a lot of nice white sandy beaches, but I just feel like the water over there is just not as nice as the Atlantic side. I feel like the mid-Atlantic current here that just always passes by this area is always flushing out the water and keeping it as fresh and clean as possible. Whereas in the Gulf, it's kind of more stagnated because you have like this big circle. It's almost like a huge lake, the Gulf of Mexico, but it is the ocean. But I feel like the water just doesn't circulate as much, and they have red tide issues over there. I haven't been there in a couple years, so I'm not sure if they're still having red tide issues, but the beaches there are pretty nice besides that. Island people. What do I mean by island people? Well, I'm thinking like the kind of people that are thinking of like a deserted island with just palm trees everywhere and no one around, who just wants to live like the laid-back Florida lifestyle. That's who I mean by island people. And I know you guys out there who are island people, you know who I'm talking to, you know I'm talking to you. The most obvious place I would start for the island people is probably down here in the Keys, probably anywhere in the Keys really, because they're all just a bunch of islands, similarly to Hawaii. But the difference is you can just drive to all of them, so it's very easy to go back and forth between the different keys. So then it's cool because if you're living down in the Keys, you get to maybe drive to the next key over or a couple keys down and always experiencing different places, and it's very beautiful down there. It's just also isolated, but hey, if you're an island person, that's kind of what you want. And yes, Miami Beach, where I live, is technically an island, but it's not the kind of island that we're talking about here with a bunch of peaceful serenity and not a lot of people around. I mean, Miami Beach is like a small town in a big city. It's definitely not the culmination of the island culture that you're thinking of. This one's an important one. How hot you like it. So down here in South Florida, it gets a lot hotter here usually than in northern Florida. And I made a video all about summer here in Florida, which you can check out right here. But basically, summer down here is brutal and it's nonstop, guys. It's hot 24/7. We're talking from the moment you wake up till in the middle of the night. And I'm a night owl. I stay up till like 3 in the morning most of the time, and it's still hot at that time. So, you know, down here in South Florida, it stays very hot. If you go to the northern half of the state, it's not gonna be as hot as down here. It's still gonna be pretty hot in the summertime, but that 5-6 degrees can make a big difference in, you know, your heat tolerance and how much you're gonna prefer being outside and experiencing that. And in the wintertime, you know, on the converse of that, it does get quite a bit cooler in the northern part of Florida, almost cold in some places. I'm talking like down in the 40s. So if you're on really the northern part of Florida, like Pensacola or St. Augustine, something like that, you have to have a little bit of a tolerance for cold still. And I know most of you are probably moving from like a colder area, and that's why you want to be in Florida. But just know that it does get chilly in those areas in the wintertime. So if you want to be hot all the time, then you want to be down at least on the bottom half of the state, south of Orlando, most likely. This one's kind of a funny one, and I just had to bring this up because I noticed it's kind of like a stereotype here for people that move to Florida. If you're from the Midwest like me, for some reason, most of the people that come from the Midwest, they move to the west coast of Florida. And most of the people that come from like the Northeast and New York and that area, they move to the east coast of Florida. Why? I really have no idea. I've been living here for 12 years and I'm not really sure what's the deal with that or what it's all about. I mean, obviously there's people on both sides from both places. I mean, I'm from the Midwest and I'm here on the East Coast. However, if you are from the Midwest, let's say, like I am, and you want to be around a lot of other people that are from that area, but just down here in Florida, maybe that's what it is then. You want to be over there because you want to be around like people you're familiar with, you know? And same thing if you're from New York, you know, if you want to be around a lot of New Yorkers, like I've met probably dozens of people here in Miami from New York and even just down here in South Florida in general and all on the East Coast, of course. So I think it just is like a preference of what kind of person you want to be around as far as that goes. Next is if you're into tennis and golf. Now this is also something you could really do anywhere here in Florida. There's tennis courts and golf courses littered across the entire state. But I would be focusing on a very highly tennis or golf centered community. And you know, there's a lot of gated communities here in Florida. Instead of maybe focusing exactly on the town or the city, I would probably focus on the community you're going to move to instead, because you want to make sure that community has like a golf course built into it. You know, some places have that, or some places have a good like 10, 12 tennis courts at your disposal, you know, right inside your community where you live. You don't even have to leave your gated community to go ahead and golf or play tennis. So that's what I would be looking at if I were you. The next thing is the art scene. I think this is kind of a small thing here in Florida. It's not as big as like in other areas, but it is a thing here, trust me. Every year we have what's called Art Basel here in Miami Beach. It's 1 week in December where people come from all over the world. Artists come here to display their artwork, and there's art shows littered across the entire Miami area. But the one area that comes to mind if you're an artist and you want to live in Florida is Wynwood. It's a neighborhood of Miami that is pretty much one giant art project. There are murals on pretty much every single wall over there. There are craft breweries, craft restaurants. There are art galleries everywhere. It's a very cool spot to be if you're an artist and you want to be around that artsy feel all the time, and constantly, every time you turn around, be inspired by someone else's art in order to help fuel your creativity for art. So I think that would be a great place to be if you're into art. Obviously I'm not perfect and I can't think of everything, so I'm sure I missed some categories of people. These are all just things I literally just came up with. I wrote them down here and I'm going over with you here in this video. So I'm sure I missed a few of you. If there is a few of you out there that I missed, make sure to put a comment below and feel free to ask me some advice on where you can move based on what you like to do here, and I'll do my best to help you out. But until then, make sure you keep on hanging out with me by watching some more of my videos right over here, and I will see you guys over there in that video.